and welcome to the female reproductive system. We will read through the reading together and answer the questions together. And if you have any questions while you are watching this video and filling out this packet, please go ahead and ask an adult at home, a parent or a grandparent, aunt, an uncle, an adult that you trust. If you don't have that person, or maybe you feel embarrassed about asking a question, well, first of all, it's normal, but second of all, your parents have all gone through the same education and know this kind of stuff. And third of all, if you are still feeling nervous about that, ask the question in the question box. I put that in quotes because it's a Google form on Canvas and it is totally anonymous. And I invite you to ask any questions on there and they will get answered in a timely manner. Let's go ahead. The female reproductive system. Reproduction is the process of producing a new human being. This new human is created through the combining of a human sperm and egg. Let's take a closer look at the female portion of the reproductive system. The female reproductive system has three very important jobs. It produces eggs, it nurtures fertilized eggs, and it gives birth. Every female has 2 ovaries that produce eggs. Did you know that these 2 ovaries contain all of the eggs a female will ever have when she is born? That's usually around 2 million. The ovaries are found in the pelvic area. They also produce estrogen, a hormone that causes the reproductive organs to mature, and progesterone, another hormone that helps to regulate the system. The eggs from the ovaries mature. As an egg does so, it becomes a large cell. During ovulation, the egg passes through the ovary wall into the fallopian tube. There is one fallopian tube leading from each ovary to the uterus. When a woman is pregnant, the baby grows in an organ called the uterus. When a girl enters puberty, the uterine lining thickens in case of pregnancy. If a female experiences sexual intercourse, which results in fertilization, the zygote embeds in this lining. The zygote is the fertilized egg. After 9 months, the baby is born by going from the uterus through the vagina. And you'll read more about birthing next week. The vagina is the female reproductive organ with 3 roles. It receives sperm from the male during sexual intercourse. It is the part of the body where a baby can be delivered. It also allows the menstrual flow to leave the body. Menstruation is a female's monthly discharge of blood and tissue from the uterus. Do you remember how the uterine lining thickens in case of pregnancy each month? Well, if a pregnancy has not occurred during the previous month, the menstrual cycle begins. The blood and tissue are released for about 5 days. When this process is done, the lining begins to build up again. At about 14 days, ovulation occurs. Ovulation is the release of an egg from the ovary. If the egg is fertilized, pregnancy has begun. If the egg is not fertilized, it will deteriorate and menstruation will occur again. This usually occurs each month from the age 12 to 50. And those ages, that's a span. Those ages can change. It can be as young as 9 or as old as 18. Good female reproductive health is essential to those women who want to become mothers as well as those who want to remain in general good health. Therefore, it is important to prevent sexually transmitted diseases. A female should try to prevent vaginal irritation through regular cleansing and wearing loose undercloths. Females should also get a yearly checkup. All right, let's answer these questions, and as we did for the male reproductive system, we want to highlight or underline where we find these answers so we know for a fact we are correct. Number 1 says, the female reproductive organ that provides support for a developing baby is the A, uterus, B, fallopian tube, C, vagina. Let's see where they talked about baby development. Let's see. When a woman is pregnant, the baby grows in an organ called the uterus. So that's providing support for developing baby. So that would be A, uterus. And we'll highlight that sentence. Number 2, which is not a role of the female reproductive system? A, giving birth. B, nurturing of fertilized eggs. C, production of eggs. D, production of sperm. Okay, well, if you did this in the same order I did, we just learned that the male reproductive system is the one that produces sperm. So these three are all what the female reproductive system does. So the answer would be D. And we know that here, the female reproductive system has three very important jobs. It produces eggs, it nurtures fertilized eggs, and gives birth. There are those three things. I'm going to label our numbers. This is number 1. This is 2. Number 3, a woman normally has blank ovaries. Every female has 2 ovaries that produces eggs. So the answer is 2. Oops, that would be the letter C. And that's most of the time. There are different things that might happen, or it might just be genetic, or a woman is only born with 1 ovary, and that's fine too. So, but most of the time, 2 ovaries. So that's number 3. Number 4, a female can produce new eggs her entire life. Did you know that these 2 ovaries contain all of the eggs a female will ever have when she is born? That's usually around 2 million. So all of the eggs the female has are the ones that she will ever have. Female new eggs cannot be produced. So this would be A, false. And we can prove that here. 2 ovaries contain all the eggs a female will ever have when she is born. All right. I'll have to kind of flip back and forth for the rest of them. Number 5, which is not a role of the vagina? A, receives sperm from the male during sexual intercourse. B, baby delivered through here. C, place where menstrual flow leaves body. Or D, production of eggs. Let's go back here. The vagina, The vagina is the female reproductive organ with 3 roles. It receives sperm from the male during sexual intercourse. Second, it is part of the body where a baby can be delivered. And third, it allows menstrual flow to leave. So that means the vagina does not produce eggs. That's where the ovaries store the eggs, which have already been produced. Okay, cannot produce more. Number 6, blank is a female's monthly discharge of blood and tissue from the uterus. A, ejaculation. B, ovulation. C, menstruation. Or D, reproduction. If we flip back, it says menstruation. Whoops, let me make sure you can see that. Menstruation is a female's monthly discharge of blood and tissue from the uterus. So menstruation, C is our answer. Doing great, almost done. Number 7, menstruation usually occurs from the age 5 to 75. I think I remember where that one is. usually occurs each month from the age of 12 to 50. So that fact that they wrote 5 to 75 is false. 12 to 50 would be the correct way to put that. And number 8, on what day does ovulation usually occur? At around 14 days, ovulation occurs. And that's in the 28-day cycle. So day 14 of 28, ovulation occurs. After 28 days, it starts all over. It's a cycle. The essay here says, describe the jobs of the female reproductive system. Just like for the male, we can keep this simple. The female reproductive system has 3 very important jobs. It produces eggs, it nurtures fertilized eggs, and it gives birth. So we need to just write those 3 things in our essay. We need a complete sentence though. The female reproductive system produces eggs, do you remember the other ones? Nurtures fertilized eggs, meaning they take care of a growing baby. And it gives birth once that baby is ready to come out. Period. Sorry, let me move that up so you can see. There you go. If you need to pause the video here to do so, to write that down, please do. Otherwise, we will move on to the diagram of the female reproductive system, which is here. Okay, let's start with where the eggs are stored, and that's in the ovaries. So eggs hang out in the ovaries, and every month 1 egg goes on a trip. You leave the ovary through the fallopian tube, and there's where the sperm, if there is sperm that gets released into the vagina, the sperm are meeting that egg there. If they do meet, now zygote is what it calls when a sperm meets an egg, hangs out in the uterus. Where a baby develops, which we'll talk about more next week. So every month, just like we talked about that 28-day cycle, the uterus builds a lining, kind of builds this lining of flesh and blood, and a place where it's safe for that zygote, the egg and sperm, the fertilized egg, to rest, where it can begin to grow. If the egg does not get fertilized, that lining that's along the uterus sheds, it goes away, and it leaves this would be called the vagina, which is why women have periods. Oh, and I forgot this one. This is the cervix. That is the base of the uterus there. And that, when there is a baby inside there, this base is thick and it's really strong to keep that baby safe. All right, so there you have the female reproductive system. All right, if you have questions, again, please don't hesitate to ask. Ask your parents, one that's home with you, and or write a question in the question box. Thanks.